What is going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red and Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. It is just us two tonight. No Mike. Our guy is handling some business in South Carolina, so we're going to have a great show for you this evening, this Sunday evening. Before I toss it over to Matt, I want to say hit like, hit subscribe. If you're tuning in on Twitter, head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive. And if you are there on our YouTube channel and you hit subscribe, I am told that somebody somewhere you don't know will be sacrificed, but that town will be allowed to continue living in peaceful harmony. Now that I got that out of the way, Matt, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good, Zach. I mean, the wait is over, right? This is the last Sunday without 49ers football until hopefully after the Super Bowl. So I know before you come at me in the comments, I know there's a bye week. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, I'm ready to jump into it. Things are really interesting, especially out there on 49ers Twitter, and I'm sure we're going to get into that. So let's jump right in.
Yeah, man, it's been an interesting week. And Philip, we're definitely going to get to that. The Nick Bosa still hasn't reported. We'll see what's going on with that. But I made the thumbnail. Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. I wore my Mr. Relevant BCB shirt, which I haven't worn since January. Unfortunately, I got this shirt. It came in after the Eagles game, so I've never really had a chance to wear it. But we're going to have to talk about quarterbacks because all this offseason has led up to this point, Matt, where is he going to be healthy? Brock, that is Trey going to surpass him in the depth chart? By all accounts, it seems like Trey Lance is having a really good camp. And it seems like I was just listening to Matt Mayoko the other day talk about how this is the best he's ever seen Trey Lance look. He's looking, accurate. He's looking somewhat explosive. So in your opinion, what is the dynamic like for the 49ers? And are they handling things wrong in any way with the quarterback position?
It's hard to say they're handling anything wrong, right? We're on the outside looking in. All we have are the same spreadsheet making people in the media that go every single year, whether that's Grant, whether that's somebody else, David Lombardi, whatnot, kind of giving us the report, but we're not really able to see. And even honestly, the people that are going to these 49ers practices, there's context missing. There are things that, we talk about it every year. The defense is typically ahead of the offense on a lot of these things because offensive install takes so much longer under Kyle Shanahan offense than a defensive install does. So it's really hard to garner what's going to happen. And by the way, if the 49ers defense are who we think they are, and we think they're a top 3 unit, then the offense is going to struggle in a lot of ways, or there's going to be messed up plays. And, it seems that there has been some bad between everybody, but there's also been a lot of good between Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, and Trey Lance. So it's just going to depend on what we see. And I think coming up against the Raiders, the joint practices are going to give us a little bit better picture. And then really the preseason games. I think in a normal situation, you have your franchise guy. He might play a series in that first preseason game, right? Because there's only 3 now. But I would expect Brock Purdy's going to get some meaningful preseason run. He has to shake off that rust and really get back into the swing of things after the elbow surgery. So it's premature to say the team is handling things right or wrong because we just don't know. And for the sake of everybody, I hope all these quarterbacks are the best versions of themselves going into the season. It's only going to help the 49ers out. But it's a little too premature to tell.
I hear you, which is funny because we have these big accounts, the NFL rumors and Dov Kleeman, whatever the hell his name is, going out there saying, looks like Trey Lance isn't being, what the 49ers thought he could be per The Athletic. And as soon as I hear that, I'm like, all right, I already know who this is coming from. This is coming from a Mr. David Lombardi. And this is something
maybe
I know.
Tim Kawakami too, to be fair.
To be fair, yes. Tim as well. The differing reports. The 49ers, for some reason, their social media team is either not allowed to or chooses not to put out a lot of the footage from the camp, which then forces normal fans to rely on reporters that are there every day to break down what they saw, track accurately, these stats for this training camp, and we're getting a ton of differing reports, right? We get David Lombardi saying Trey Lance looks sloppy, he doesn't look great. Whereas, Brock Purdy, he's giving every benefit of the doubt. What do you make of this, Matt? Because is this something that is normal with other teams that we just don't notice, or is this something maybe just specific to a quarterback controversy?
It's not normal with other teams, mainly because the 49ers are a team that's not set in stone at the franchise quarterback position. I think a lot of what Brock Purdy gets in terms of his leeway, one, he's coming back from an injury to his throwing arm, and two, the proof is in the pudding based off of what he did in actual games last year. And we know that some guys aren't as good in practice. And then Trey Lance, we just haven't seen enough, right? But it's very interesting to me that between all the 49ers content creators, it seems like each side has their favorite. You'll see like David Lombardi seems to be more on the Brock Purdy train. Grant Cohn is definitely more on the Trey Lance train. You got Jesse Naylor and Jose Sanchez and other people in between, Jack Hammer, whatever, all throwing out their stats, throwing out their opinions. And it seems like much more than in a lot of areas, there seems to be such an axe to grind with these guys. It's gotten to the point where it's kind of vitriolic, where people are really going at each other in a way and making it about things other than football, which I think is very interesting. It's an interesting way to go, but it's kind of disappointing that we've come to an age where rather than just try to be as factual as possible, giving as much context as possible, it'll either be a strict opinion piece or it'll be something like pure statistics without any context to the stats whatsoever, right? For example, I have, tweets from Grant saying, they posted, Grant Cohn and Jack Hammer both posted passing stats through 9 practices today each. They don't 100% match up. And then, some of them look more axe to grind or like there is, a narrative that they're trying to fulfill with the stats. So it's just hard to judge one way or another until we're going to see. And I think that going forward, the preseason games are going to really help because it's going to be hard to hide, right? We saw that with, last year and the year before. You can tell there were times where Trey Lance looked really good in preseason, but there were also times where he looked really lost and not ready. I think that that's going to, continue in terms of we're going to be able to, as fans, when we watch the game, make our own determination rather than having to rely blindly on these guys who can put forth their narrative, can put forth whatever they want to say for clicks without actually having skin in the game, without actually having the full context there. And it's very frustrating overall, I think.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty divisive, like you said. It's gotten pretty heated, and I don't remember this type of drama. Obviously, I remember last year, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, or even the year before that. I still don't think it was this divided. It kind of takes me back to like Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick era, in my opinion, to where this divide and it's like almost 50% on each side, and they both feel they're so right, and they both feel the other side's complete idiots for having this belief of who they believe should start a quarterback. And it's very interesting to see just the fan base, how they interact with each other, how they feel about each other. And I'm going to acknowledge it because I see it in the chat already. There's a racial component to it, which
I was about to say there is something to that, even though it's weird because where does this come from? That's my question. And you can throw the comment up if you want to. And I think it's the next one from Philip Carpenter. It has everything to do about everything but football. In what way? I don't understand how you can take it to that area. If someone can point out to me how that would be the case, let me know. But I just don't understand that. I don't know, Zach. What's your opinion?
I think unfortunately the culture that we live in today is kind of one that I don't want to say is led to believe to see these things
And
where
by the
they
way, let me
otherwise might not
clarify
be.
before you go too much further. Let me clarify and just say, I mean, the racial component, because it's definitely there in the fan base, because we just have like people in our fan base that just are like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying strictly from the team,
Right.
because there are people that will blame the team for the racial component, and that's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
no. I'm glad you made that clarification because that exists, right? Like there are racist people in the 49ers fan base, just like in every fan base, and it's bad, it's disgusting, it should be called out and blocked at every chance you see it. But for the 49ers, I don't understand people. I've seen people call Kyle Shanahan a racist simply for saying that Brock Purdy is the leader in the clubhouse, how he's the real deal. I think I heard him say the other day and say he's never spoken this glowingly about Trey Lance. Are we just forgetting this is the same guy who traded all of these assets to move up to get Trey Lance? Like it's not, it doesn't make sense to me. It's not like he just inherited Trey Lance and is now installing Brock Purdy over him. He
Right.
went out and got him. So I don't really get it either.
Right. By the way, you say this is somebody that traded. This is also a head coach that named his son after Lil Wayne.
Right. It wears Yeezys
So
and yeah.
yeah, that's and it can't. People, the fan base makes it about that. I don't think there's anybody in the building that's bringing a racial component to this, and I don't think that anybody serious is looking at it through that lens. It has to strictly be about football. And the fact of the matter is, Brock Purdy is the leader in the clubhouse, quoting John Lynch, because of what he did last year. And it's something that, say what you want about Trey Lance's potential. We haven't seen it yet, right? The devil you know versus the devil you don't. And by the way, it's not like Brock Purdy has been absolutely lights out on fire, right? And that's why I think preseason is so important. There is still a chance for Trey Lance to win the quarterback competition. It's going to be hard, and we've always said that it was going to be hard. But this is also a head coach that's not afraid to pull the trigger and pull a guy out if they're not getting it done. And that's going to be doubly so for a team with Trey Lance in the background, who does have all this draft capital behind him, who does have the big rookie contract. So, when Mike Silver and unfortunately Rich Eisen are out there speculating that Trey Lance can be cut, no, he's got a huge dead cap hit. He's going to be on this team. The most likely cut is going to be Brandon Allen. We've seen his reps decrease throughout training camp. Sam Darnold will probably be the third. I mean, there's that, emergency third or whatever that teams are allowed to have. They'll probably keep 3 quarterbacks on the 53. That's just, that's something they'll probably do given their quarterback situation last year. And it's unfortunate that Trey Lance's career has got off to such a rocky and inconsistent start, but the race isn't over yet in terms of the quarterback competition. Trey Lance can get there by doing exactly what he's doing by reports in training camp, looking the best he's ever looked, keeping the pressure on Brock Purdy, who's coming off, again, an injury to his throwing arm. It's a situation where if Brock Purdy doesn't perform, I think that Kyle would put Trey Lance into the games and would replace Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's Mr. Irrelevant, whether you like him or not. And the NFL right now, Brock Purdy has all this game film on record where he's doing all this, stuff that's great, 35 here, 38 there, the game against the Seahawks in the playoffs. But the NFL is definitely a what have you done for me lately league. And we've seen guys that perform really well, like RG3 in their rookie year, have an injury and then they don't perform. There's every chance that he can definitely come out flat and get replaced. So the vitriol amongst the fan base, the adding of the racial component where one really doesn't exist on the team side, it's just very puzzling to me how we got here. And it's a little disappointing. It does, I think, take away something from the excitement of what the team is this year and what they could potentially be and how talented they are, because we have to talk about this silly crap, all the time. It's a spreadsheet kind of situation, right? Like somebody in the chat earlier was saying that they haven't heard much from Javon Hargrave. And it's like, well, yeah, you're not going to, because it's not relevant. It's the quarterback situation, and to a much lesser degree, it's the Nick Bosa contract. Those are the only two narratives in training camp. And I guess like a distant third would be how well Brandon Ayuk has performed so far. But I mean, outside of that, you're not really going to see a lot. You know, there are videos out there of Jake Moody bombing 60-yard field goals in practice with room to spare. But you don't hear about that, right? Kicker's a very important thing, especially after Robbie Gould was so consistent for us. But you're not going to hear that. You're just going to hear about the quarterbacks, and it's nothing but quarterbacks all the time. And it gets a little old, you know?
And look, I'll be the first to say if the situation was reversed and Brock Purdy was the quarterback that the 49ers traded all these first round picks to acquire, and Trey Lance was Mr. Irrelevant, and Brock Purdy came in last season as a starter and then got hurt. Trey Lance came in and won 8 games or whatever it was without losing a game that he started and finished, didn't lose. I would be saying Trey Lance, I think, has earned the starting position regardless of anything else Brock Purdy was going to do or was anticipated to do, because just like Matt said, it's a what have you done for me lately? And the potential, in my opinion, is not as valuable as the physical proof and you know, evidence of what you've actually done once you've been in the situation, been in playoff games. And just like Ian Sharp says, Purdy made the most of his opportunity. They talked about it a couple days ago when they're in the press conferences, and John Lynch said, look, Purdy came in and he was getting every 5th, 6th snap, you know, as the third or fourth quarterback. We came in, we gave Sudfeld, who we liked a lot, guaranteed money, and we ended up moving off him because we liked Purdy so much. That's what he did with the little opportunity that he had. So it's all about what you do with the chances you're given. And I think over the next 3 weeks or so, we'll see what each quarterback does with the chances they're given. But Matt, can we just nip this in the ass right now that Brandon Allen is going to be the reason that Trey Lance isn't on this team come September? Please.
That's always been the dumbest take. And that was a Mike Silver special, you know. I like, honestly, let's be real. I know Mike Silver's been around for a long time, but his reporting, if it was ever good, has definitely fallen off. And I just don't respect him as a journalist. He's a throw shit against the wall type of guy and see what sticks. He was 100% certain that, you know, the 49ers were going to draft Mac Jones, and that's where they were going, right? And he's the first guy with the quickest trigger to block anybody that disagrees with him, even in a respectful way. So if you're going to make predictions and proclamations and then be 100% incorrect and not be able to own up to that and take the criticism, I just don't respect you. So Mike Silver coming out, and he has access to guys like Rich Eisen. He has access to guys like Colin Cowherd. He has access to guys like Jim Rome, all the people that are going to be, you know, the old school media talking head type guys. Some know what they're doing, some don't. Some are in it for clicks, some are in it for, you know, serious business. The one I'm disappointed most about is Rich Eisen, because I feel like he truly does love the NFL. And I truly do feel like he doesn't necessarily have this narrative aspect to what he's doing to like push a certain agenda, but even he's been taken in by Mike Silver, and it's just it's pathetic. All you have to do is look at the 49ers cap situation. If you're trying to extend somebody like Nick Bosa, the last thing you're going to do is cut a guy where you're going to have a $14 million dead cap hit for this year as a post June 1st cut designation. It just doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form, because it's dead cap. You can't move it around. You can't restructure it. You can't get rid of it, right? If you're going to eat that money, you might as well have Trey Lance on the team just in case something happens. And, you know, I'm always like, you don't play to, you know, watch people get injured or whatever. But we saw so many quarterbacks get hurt last year. You just can't take the chance. Yeah. So those reports are ridiculous. Brandon Allen is going to be the one that goes. It's not like he has a huge history with the 49ers. He's been around the league a little bit. So it's, you know, he's one of those guys that is going to get a job in the NFL. He's good enough to be a practice squad, third string emergency quarterback guy. But at that point, it's too cost prohibitive to get rid of Trey Lance to keep somebody like Brandon Allen. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Agreed. And Ian says, I can't watch Eisen or Coward. I love Rich Eisen, and I think he's fallen victim to leaning one side when trying to balance being a factual reporter and making an entertaining show. And I think maybe he's fallen into the trap of trying to make his show entertaining, that he does maybe get a little too kooky with these conspiracy theories that he's getting into, listening to guys like Mike Silver, who everybody in the chat saying is soft, is a bitch, blocks everybody. The thing I remember most about Mike Silver is how he reacted when he was wrong about the 49ers hiring Hugh Jackson, when he was saying it's a done deal. Hugh Jackson will be the next coach of the 49ers. And that didn't happen. And people were kind of laughing at him. And he doubled down and basically said, you don't know what you're talking about. I know it was in place and the 49ers backed out. Well, regardless of what happened, it's not a done
and then
deal.
somebody, I think Jed York even came behind him and was like, what are you talking about? That wasn't even true. I think it was legitimately Jed York that was like, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about, you know? And, you know, Rich Eisen, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's been a guy that's been around for a long time, you know, from his old days on the Sports Center, but he's like a founding member of the NFL Network in terms of like he was the big personality. They took him from ESPN to come over to NFL Network when the NFL started that. He definitely is invested. I mean, you got to love football if you're going to be a Jets fan for your entire life, right? But, you know, all jokes aside, it's just he at the end of the day is still a personality, still a reporter type guy, a journalist, talking head guy. He doesn't have, you know, if I want real analysis, as entertaining as it is, I'm going to watch Pat McAfee, because Pat McAfee was an NFL player and he's got enough ends, and he has, you know, AJ Hawk on there who's also going to be able to suss out a lot of the BS that a lot of the people are saying. And they'll have people that, you know, more than ever, you know, Ian Rappaport and Albert Breer are two guys that I think are pretty above reproach, right? Adam Schefter's lost a little luster. He said some very opinionated things that turned out to be wrong and doubled down the same way. I think that's just the curse of ESPN, and I hope the same thing doesn't happen to Pat. But he just fell victim, you know, Rich Eisen fell victim to not having the experience of being able to suss out a lot of the things and use your league connections to really get to the bottom of something, you know? And I'm not saying that Pat McAfee has any type of insight into the 49ers or anything like that, but he's been the only guy, at least initially, that was like, no, Trey Lance looks really good by all available metrics, and, you know, they should be able to watch out for him, you know? So it's just an interesting thing.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about quarterback wise?
I just think it's interesting that the quarterbacks seem to be doing, at the very least, a lot better. I mean, even through, you know, the whole 9 practice things, you know, at worst, they have Brock Purdy throwing 3 interceptions. They have Trey Lance throwing like 1 or 2, depending on who you're reading. But as the Raiders found out earlier this week, it's a far cry from the days of Jimmy Garoppolo throwing 5 straight picks or throwing 3 picks in a practice. So it could always be worse. And at the end of the day, even all jokes aside about Jimmy Garoppolo, the 49ers won with Jimmy Garoppolo. So take all of this camp stuff with a grain of salt. We're going to be able to see starting, you know, next Sunday against the Raiders, depending on who they start, who they play the most. I would expect Trey Lance and Sam Darnold to get a bulk of the game, at least early. I think Brock Purdy plays a big chunk of the second game, and then, you know, you get mop-up time in the third game. So, yeah, it'll just be interesting. I wonder if Kyle is going to do the same thing that he did last year, where he plays one quarterback one week, one quarterback the next week, or whatever. It's going to be interesting.
I think it was Paul Gutierrez from ESPN, I could be wrong, tweeting about how Jimmy Garoppolo looks like he still has a little bit of rust on him and he needs to shake it off. The deep ball's not quite there for him yet. And I just thought that was hilarious. And I'm thinking to myself, get ready, Raiders fans, because you are in for a season of pain. I mean, they swapped out a 2006 Honda Civic. What was that tweet? For like a 1998 Honda Civic with no brakes from Derek Carr. Derek Carr could actually throw a nice deep ball, and he was accurate, deep passing. And I feel bad for Devontae Adams trying to play for his, you know, hometown favorite team with his hometown best friend or whatever in Derek Carr. That fell apart before a season even finished. So wish the best for them. But anyway, how concerned are you that Nick Bosa isn't signed yet? We're sitting here August 6th recording this.
I'm not that concerned about it. I mean, Nick Bosa is going to be in shape. He's going to be getting ready to go. I think if you get much further past the first preseason game, that's something that you're going to have to start taking a look at and wondering and really exploring what's going on. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not super far apart, but Parag Marate likes that really weird offset language, contract structure, and I wonder if Nick Bosa's team is just like, nah, we're not going to do that. You might be able to get away with that with some of these other players, but Nick needs something like a little more. I expect him to be the highest paid defensive player in the NFL by the time the thing is done. I'm not concerned. I'm curious at this point.
Yeah. I think, even Mayoka was saying in like May, the structure of the deal is there. Just get it done. I think everybody knows what it's going to be. And I'm sure it's just a matter of guarantees or bonuses, whatever it is. I would be concerned if we're getting into week 2 of preseason, going into week 3, still not there. Then I'm thinking, okay, what's the holdup? Because they should know, they should have the money allocated already. They've known for literally years this is coming up this year, so get it done. I think John Lynch, last time he spoke about it, he said he's very confident that a deal will be done soon. So I guess we'll see. Keeping on the D-line, and this, I saw this earlier in the week, and it made me think of, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. And Javon Kinlaw, he's looking better than ever, Matt. He's looking explosive. He's looking physical. He's looking fast. And Coach K saying that he's looking as good as he's ever been. Oh, I don't know if I'm frozen. Can you see me?
You look a little frozen to me.
Okay, but you can hear me?
I was just going to let you cook, man.
All right. I will back out and come back in right now. But
sure.
Give me 1 second. In the meantime,
yeah.
Kinlaw.
Here we are yet again, Javon Kinlaw. Man, it seems like every year Javon Kinlaw is in the best shape of his life. Javon Kinlaw is going to look really, really, really good. Javon Kinlaw is finally healthy. Javon Kinlaw looks like a beast. He's the guy the 49ers drafted. He's the guy that they wanted when they first, traded away DeForest Buckner or whatever. At this point, I'm tired of the smoke. I'm tired of the snake oil. I need to see it in a real game. I need to see it not only just in a real game, over the course of a few games. You know what I mean? It's not, at this point, it's too late. It's too late for me to believe in just the potential of what he's going to be. It's too late for me to take at face value that he's going to come in, best shape of his life, whatever. We got a comment from Steve-O. Kinlaw and TDP, baby. I'm more likely to believe Ty Davis-Price is in a better shape than Javon Kinlaw and has more potential because he doesn't have the litany of injuries. He doesn't have the stop-start nature of what Javon Kinlaw's been. At this point, I'm not going to believe it. You know what I mean? So I don't know, if it's just, if it's just the hype that they want him to have, if it's just they're trying to salvage something out of him, if it's just they're trying to build up his trade value or anything like that, I think that there is enough evidence that Javon Kinlaw has to prove something before I'm willing to buy in. I need to see it. He's been too injured, been too boneheaded with his actions on and off the field. And say what you want, but that, that stuff with Grant last year is still a black eye on his tenure with the 49ers. I'm more likely to believe somebody like Ty Davis-Price in his second year is going to take a leap forward than I am for Javon Kinlaw. I need to see the proof in the pudding on the field because the 49ers showed you what they thought when they went out and signed Javon Hargrave. That's all you need to know on what they thought. Now, if he becomes something, then by all means, that's fantastic, right? I hope Ty Davis-Price becomes something because Ian Sharp says TDP, the Mitchell replacement, Elijah Mitchell's already hurt in training camp. So you get to a point with these guys where it's like, all right, I've heard enough. I've heard it. Show me. Just show me at this point.
Have they, I was trying to find, did they already make a decision on picking up his 5th-year option?
I don't think they picked it up. I think they picked up Ayuk's, but not Javon Kinlaw's.
Got it. Yeah, like I said to start the segment, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in, and I'm trying not to get that excited on Javon Kinlaw because last year he had the surgery, right? And I was sitting right here saying the surgeon says they think they found the root cause of the tendonitis in his knee, and they think that he's going to be able to now play all season. The knee won't be a problem. I don't think he played a quarter of the season. And then he was just kind of up in limbo. Nobody knew the status of him. Coach wasn't even getting any questions about him because it was just kind of like, I don't know. There's nothing really to be said. So I'm going to really withhold any excitement, any judgment, anything, because until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. I'm in the same boat as you, Matt. It's enough talking, get it done. And very coincidental contract year, and he's looking as good as ever, and hopefully he'll play as good as ever, and maybe he'll earn a contract elsewhere. I'm not quite sure, but um, it wasn't pretty from the effort we saw from Kinlaw last year. Steve-O says Grant should have to do YouTube or report, not both. He's a cancer in the locker room. I don't know if I agree with that. The second one, maybe, but I don't think you should have to choose between YouTube and reporting. He's making a killing on YouTube, by the way. Shout out to Grant. So you mentioned Ty Davis Price. Let's get to the other side of the ball and just in general, the 49ers as a whole. Which second year player, because Ty Davis Price is a sophomore, right?
Sophomore season, yeah.
Which second year player are you most excited for this season? Who do you think is going to make the biggest jump? If not, TDP?
I mean, that's a good question. Because we saw a big jump out of Talanoa Hufanga last year in his second year, which was really nice. I mean, I think TDP is the easy answer, right? But all for the sake of going with somebody different, I have to go with somebody like Danny Gray because it's hard to do. It's hard to not improve on doing absolutely nothing.
It's true.
And I've seen him make a couple of good catches in training camp. So there's every chance for Danny Gray, if he has become a professional, to kind of take the leap. And then I think the biggest one on the other side of the ball is obviously Drake Jackson. They need something out of that opposite end. So, between those two, I think, you really have to get your hopes up for those two. I think that, somebody like Danny Gray who can blow the top off of defense is going to be very important to loosen up guys like Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and kind of stretch the field so those guys can work. On the other side of the ball, you can't just rely on Nick Bosa. Javon Hargrave is going to be somebody that's very disruptive interiorly, and Eric Armstead is still Eric Armstead. You just need to shore up that other side, right? They've kind of gone through a lot of people, and you hope that Drake Jackson, with that second round pedigree, is somebody that can take a leap forward and kind of shore up that other defensive end spot.
Yeah, it's hard to go with anyone else. Ty Davis Price would be an obvious answer, but I was going to choose Drake Jackson. I think he understands what is being asked of him this year and really being an every down player, not taking, having to get off the field for, third down or run plays and being able to set the edge. And I think he's going to make a pretty big jump. I would love to see something from Danny Gray because we really didn't see much from him last year. We were speculating maybe the style of football once Trey Lance got hurt didn't really match what the 49ers were trying to do. But then when Brock Purdy came in, he was slinging the ball down the field, no problem, and we still didn't really see much of Danny Gray. Did you happen to catch Ambry Thomas speaking to Matt Mayoko the other day?
No, I didn't.
So I only caught a snippet of it going around on Twitter, but I was actually pretty impressed with what I heard. He was talking, Matt Mayoko flat out basically asked him what happened after your promising end to your rookie season. Last year, you kind of disappeared off the map. And he took full accountability. He said, look, I came in overweight, or he kept saying I had a weight problem, and I was kind of slacking, and I didn't really take it seriously. And it wasn't until kind of the first day of camp where I realized my body was not where it needed to be in order for me to make the strides that I was supposed to take. And, then he said, and then I had the injury. I forget which injury he had, but he basically said it steamrolled into a giant problem throughout the season, and other people took advantage, like Diamador Lenore, and got playing time over him. But that he says he got his body in shape this year. He's ready for the opportunity. He's ready for the challenge. I'd love to see something from Ambry Thomas because the secondary definitely needs people to step up.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, and again, grain of salt, right? Because we don't believe the quarterbacks, we can't believe all the other stuff too. But all accounts is Ambry Thomas is still getting burned in training camp. So while I hope he can turn it around, it's just I feel like he's got an uphill fight, man, and it's unfortunate. And you wish that wasn't the case, but it just makes you wonder. Like, it just is it he going to be a guy, another in the 49ers dubious history of picking in the third round that just doesn't make it? It looks like it's Fred Warner and everybody else. So makes you kind of hope that, Jair Brown and Jake Moody can kind of break that curse, because 49ers have not done well there.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him. He's a Michigan guy, and I love Michigan. As that's my college football team, and you want him to do well, but it's a little disconcerting that somebody so young is already, and somebody who missed, by the way, an entire year due to the COVID pandemic and all that stuff, to just say like, oh yeah, I was slacking and I wasn't ready, and you never want to hear that out of players. And it's cool that he took accountability, but professional football is, you're professional for a reason. So I think he's a guy to watch out for potentially getting cut, if I'm being honest.
Damn. All right. Well, let's see. Let's see. Okay. So I don't know if you followed this. This is going back to Trey Lance's rookie year and when he was drafted. There's all this talk about his throwing mechanics, right? And we all knew he was working with Quincy Avery pre-draft. And apparently Quincy Avery was getting a bunch of crap from 49ers fans saying, essentially, you ruined Trey Lance's throwing motion. His throwing motion at North Dakota State was a lot better than once he got into his rookie year with the 49ers. And Quincy Avery basically came out and said, that's not true. I never worked with Trey Lance once he was drafted. And that Kyle Shanahan specifically wanted Trey Lance to work with a quarterbacks coach that knew his system, which ended up being John Beck. I thought this was interesting because this past offseason, a couple of weeks ago, actually, Kyle Shanahan said that they have no say in which quarterbacks coach the players work with once they leave the facility in the offseason. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I don't know. It seems to be a big story. I don't really get why it is, to be honest with you, but I know a lot of people are talking about it. If you have any thoughts,
anything to just, I think this is another situation where everybody wants to make it about anything other than the actual football itself. Sure, maybe Quincy Avery would have been better for Trey Lance in that moment, but for whatever reason, the 49ers thought John Beck was a better fit. To discount that and to automatically assume the 49ers were wrong in that is to discount John Beck as well. So there's two sides to the story. We just don't know, and it's all speculation, same as all this other stuff. The fact of the matter is that, Trey Lance is a professional, and the team might want him to work with somebody while he's in camp, but as evidenced by this offseason, he worked with Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes' quarterback coach away from the 49ers. They didn't seem to have a problem with it. So that to me indicates that, what, if nothing else, this Quincy Avery story is a non-starter. It seems like the 49ers were okay with him working with, whoever, as long as it was going to improve him. And it's more about him actually making the effort to work in the offseason. So, yeah, to me, this is kind of a nothing burger.
That's how I felt about it. It seemed like people were trying to blame Kyle Shanahan in a sense for ruining Trey Lance's throwing motion, and that a lot of people were trying to catch him up in a lie, in my opinion. That's how I took it. But it's kind of okay, wow, shocker. I mean, I don't know. The coach wants him to work with somebody who knows the system. I am stunned. It wasn't really that shocking for me to learn this.
Right. That's exactly correct. What did you expect? He's a rookie. Right. You want, again, this is a system that Matt Ryan took a full year to digest. Jimmy Garoppolo took time to digest, and these were multi-year pros by the time they took over. This is a complicated offense. So why wouldn't you want your rookie, who had less than 500 throws career. Why would you not want to hook him up with that? So it is just much ado about nothing, and it's just people wanting to complain for the sake of complaining. It's pretty ridiculous that it's going to be anything except. And I'm not saying that Trey Lance is going to fail or that everything is his fault or whatever, but it annoys me that the people who are on the Trey Lance train will do anything they can to defend him, no matter what. Like, it's never anything to do with Trey Lance at all.
Right.
And
Right.
two things can be true at once, right? Trey Lance could need to improve, and also Trey Lance might not have gotten a fair shot so far. Both things can be true.
Yeah. It's just such a crazy circumstance that have played out here with the 49ers since he was drafted. I mean, I don't think anybody anticipated Brock Purdy turning into what he turned into, or at least last season going the way it did. And that kind of forced Kyle Shanahan's hand. And this is where we are. Last topic I have for you this evening, Matt, is Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, by all reports, has been the absolute star of training camp. And he ended, basically all last season was a breakout year for him, his first 1,000-yard season. We've discussed for basically since last year how the 49ers will be able to keep both Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. Do you expect much of what we saw last year from Brandon Ayuk to continue regardless of who's under center?
Oh, I think he's going to be even better. I mean, it's clear that he is the best wide receiver on the team in terms of being a pure wide receiver. And, Deebo has come in shape, and, I know he had the injury scare in camp, but he's looked pretty good. Brandon Ayuk just seems like he's going to take a step to another level. He seems like he's going to be top 10, top 15 receiver in the NFL, which when you go down the list of receiver names is hella good company.
It's insane. It's insane.
Mike and I the amount of great receivers in the NFL right now is fantastic, but he's clearly the best pure wide receiver on the team. It's readily apparent. So I think that he's going to be the favorite target of whoever the starting quarterback is. He's the best route runner. He stays healthy. He's really, really good. So it's heartening to see that he is taking a step towards becoming even better than he was last year. And now it gets to the point where the 49ers really have to kind of figure out how to re-sign him when you got Deebo Samuel, when you're signing Nick Bosa. That should become a priority after Nick Bosa is in the fold.
It's going to be difficult, but I think they can get it done. And I think it's actually vital they get it done. I can't see this offense being what it is with only Deebo Samuel and no Brandon Ayuk opposite. He's really turned into that guy. And dare I say more important than Deebo Samuel? Dare I say that, Matt? I don't know. I don't know if I should.
Listen, you can because of the addition of Christian McCaffrey last year. It definitely made Deebo Samuel's role by necessity become redundant.
Yeah.
So, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because I think that's going to give Deebo Samuel more longevity if he doesn't have to do all of the stuff that he did for the 49ers in the 2021 season.
Right.
I think that's just better for him overall.
Yeah. Wide back duties, like Ian Sharp says here. Yeah. If that's not necessary, then I'm all for it. All right. I think that's all I had.
Yeah. I mean, he can go, but Deebo needs to be less wide back and more like slant king. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
he works really good in short area space, and get him loose for a jet sweep or two, but you can't just, I would avoid lining him up in the backfield. That's what I would avoid doing, unless you're going to make it not so obvious that you're just going to hand him the ball.
Right. It seemed like after 2021, it didn't work, more often than not.
It's like the Wildcat, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Those runs
everybody catches on
1 to 2 yards and then tackled, nobody was fooled by it anymore, unfortunately. So it's not worth the pounding that his body's going to take consistently lining up in the backfield. So just stop. You got Christian McCaffrey, you got Elijah Mitchell, you got TDP, you got Juice. Just let them handle the duties out of the backfield. All right. Do you want to do a chat pack card?
Absolutely. Let's
to
do
end the
it.
show? All right.
And by the way, shout outs to Braden Willis, apparently looking better in camp than third round pick Cameron Latu.
Interesting. Which is what a lot of people said going on once they were drafted.
The Cameron Latu pick was a little bit weird because he doesn't profile like the 49ers like their tight ends. He's not especially athletic. He's just kind of big.
Okay, I have a good one. If you could go back in time, this is shout out to Chat Pack. Oh shit. Chat Pack. If you could go back in time and ask any famous person in history one question, whom would you question and what would you ask? Assume that you would be given a completely honest answer. This is a tough one.
I would go to who was there at the time? 54. Let me hold on. I'm gonna look it up. Right. I think it was Eisenhower, but yeah, it was Eisenhower. That's a pretty good pull from me. I would ask Dwight Eisenhower because he's a military man. He's a hero of the war. I would ask him the truth about all of the rumors about Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Second on that would be asking Lyndon Johnson who actually shot JFK.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's tough because I don't know which one I would want to ask, but I would want to ask. I don't want to go too far back because then I feel like all of the information that I'm looking for isn't there. But a pope within the last like 100 years, maybe Pope John Paul, because he was always a homie. What is in the Vatican, library, the archives, that information that is just off the record, not even accessible to the average person. They keep that shit locked, like locked. So I think that'd be crazy to know what is in the Vatican. What does the Vatican actually store? What information is in there? What
just in like the
technology?
depths, right? Because I know people can go to the Vatican.
Yes, like in the Vatican archives that are like locked away, and there's a bunch of stuff that they store in there that is not allowed access to. So if I had a second one, I would go and ask Jim Harbaugh, why the fuck didn't you run the ball with Frank Gore at the goal line when you had the best offensive line? But I just had to get that one out.
There you go. All right.
All right. Shout out to Chat Pack. I think that's going to do it for this evening's show. Is there anything else you had you wanted to talk about we didn't mention?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything else that I didn't mention you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, I mean, listen, so it's been a long off season, but I'm very excited. I think next week, probably Saturday, we'll be doing our first game preview of the season. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, come on back for that. We're gonna be doing game previews, game wrap-ups, and post-game stuff. And it's here. It's here after a long off season. It's finally here. I'm just interested for all of the BS narratives to stop, and let's just see what we got on the field. It's time for 49ers football.
It sounds great. It sounds amazing. Just hearing you say it, it's finally here. It's like I was telling Ashley the other day, we were driving to work, and I'm like, when we're driving home on a Monday night and there's football starting, like I might legitimately cry. Like I'm so happy on that time of the year. There's just this feeling of everything's going on around you on a Sunday when there's all these games on. It's like I feel warm and fuzzy. And I guess that's what girls feel when they get their first pumpkin spice latte of the season. Like that's how I feel when football's back. When I hear those theme songs, CBS, Fox, ESPN, Amazon, all of them, they just get my blood running.
Hey, we all love that Fox joint, dude. Oh,
Exactly.
I can't wait for that, man.
Exactly.
I can't wait for that. Also, everybody, make sure you guys realize this year Sunday Ticket's going to be on Google, on YouTube TV, rather than the normal direct TV. That's going to be an interesting change too. I wonder if they keep the same format, keep the same guys around. It's David Hansen and Andrew Siciliano. I imagine if you're just going to subscribe and it's YouTube TV, that they'll just condense that to one guy. And then also the very much more varied flex is going to be interesting this season too. There's a lot of things happening. So it's just good to be back to football season. Let's be real. And the 49ers are poised to make a Super Bowl run. I really feel like it's got to be a Super Bowl or bust year. Really, really going to be disappointed with anything less than that.
I feel like that's where we're at. I'm trying to find Scott Hansen. That's the host I know is for NFL Red Zone on YouTube TV.
I think it's David Hansen.
No, I know. I know that there's
Scott Hansen's
people.
the Catch a Predator guy, isn't he?
No,
that's Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen.
A lot of Hansens, bro.
But I know that DirecTV had a separate one, like you were saying. So I have YouTube TV, so I don't know if it's somebody else, but I have Scott Hansen currently doing NFL Red Zone. So we'll see who does it. But I'm interested to see just football be back on the TV, or I'm excited, I should say, football be back on the TV. The best time of the year is here. We are 1 week away, 7 days away. This time next week, we will be doing our first recap show of the year. So thank you, everybody, for sticking with us this offseason. If you're here right now, hit like, hit subscribe. We appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Matt, you want to carry us out?
Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining us here tonight. Y'all are the diehards. It's, we appreciate you here. We get a lot of traffic from Mike and nothing but Niners, but we know that a lot of you guys are in it for us. And, we're not going to let you down this season. We're going to bring a lot more content for you guys. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. You're helping this channel be what it is. We want to learn with you guys, grow with you guys, watch the 49ers with you guys. Thank you for being here. We love you as always. And for the first time in a long time, we get to see a 49ers game this coming week. So that being said, until next time, go Niners.